Stop. Before you mix another batch of tomato fertilizer, I want you to read this. 6 weeks ago, I did something my neighbor said was insane. I had 4 healthy tomato plants, 2 Cherokee purples, and 2 Better Boys in my raised bed. I was on a strict feeding schedule. Fish emulsion every 2 weeks, a scoop of the 10th of October 10 every month, calcium spray, magnesium spray, the works. And my plants looked tired, yellowing lower leaves, curled tips, plenty of foliage, but the fruit was small, slow, and a couple of them had blossom and rot. So I stopped. Cold turkey. No fish emulsion, no granular feed, no foliar sprays, just water for 6 weeks. By week 6, those same 4 plants were producing the heaviest, sweetest tomatoes I have ever pulled out of that bed. My neighbor walked over and asked what I switched to. I told her I switched to nothing. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what was happening underground while I was overfeeding, the soil biology research that explains why more food was actually starving my plants, and the simple 6-week reset protocol you can run on your own tomatoes starting this weekend. By the end of this video, you'll be able to look at your tomato plants tonight and know in under 5 minutes whether you're in the same trap I was in and exactly what to do about it. Stay with me, because the moment in week 3 when I almost gave up and grabbed the fertilizer bag again is the part nobody talks about. Here's the part the fertilizer industry doesn't put on the bag. Tomatoes evolved on the slopes of the Andes in nutrient-poor, well-drained volcanic soil. They are, biologically speaking, a stress crop. They produce their best fruit when they're slightly hungry, slightly thirsty, and forced to push roots deep to find what they need. When you feed them like a houseplant on a schedule, you flip a switch. The plant gets the message. Food is everywhere, no need to work for it. So it stops working. There's a name for this. Soil scientists call it luxury consumption. The plant takes up far more nutrients than it actually needs because they're sitting right there at the root zone. According to Penn State Extension's Commercial Tomato Production Guide, excess nitrogen specifically pushes plants into vegetative dominance, meaning the plant pours energy into leaves and stems instead of flowers and fruit. You end up with a 6-foot-tall green monster and a handful of marble-sized tomatoes. But it gets worse, and this is the part that took me 2 seasons to figure out. Synthetic fertilizers are salts. Every time you pour fish emulsion or sprinkle granular the 10th of October 10, you're pushing soluble salt into the root zone. A 2019 study published in Frontiers in Plant Science documented that elevated salt concentrations suppress mycorrhizal fungi, the microscopic root partners that extend a tomato's effective root system by up to 700%. USDA Agricultural Research Service publications describe these fungi as the plant's second root system. When you overfeed, you kill them. When you kill them, the plant becomes 100% dependent on you for everything. Miss one feeding, and the plant collapses. That's the trap. The more you feed, the more the plant needs you. The less independent its biology becomes. The fertilizer is selling you a problem and a solution at the same time. My retired neighbor, a woman who's been growing tomatoes in the same plot for 38 years and has never bought a bottle of fish emulsion in her life, said it like this: "You're treating the plant. I'm treating the soil. That's the whole difference." She was right, and the research backs her up. Now let me show you what actually happened in those 6 weeks, week by week, because the timeline matters. This is what botanists call the rebound curve, and it's a real, measurable phenomenon. Week 1. The plants looked worse. Lower leaves yellowed faster. 2 new ones turned crisp at the edges. I almost panicked. This is the withdrawal phase. The plant has been getting a steady drip of soluble nitrogen for months, and suddenly it's gone. The visible leaves drop because the plant is reallocating internal nitrogen to the growing tips. This looks like a problem. It's not. According to Cornell University Cooperative Extension's Tomato Disorders Guide, lower leaf yellowing during a feed reduction is a normal redistribution response, not a deficiency. Week 2. Growth slowed visibly. I checked the soil with a moisture probe twice a day because I was nervous. New growth at the top was smaller but darker green and noticeably tougher to the touch. What was happening underground is the part you can't see. The soil microbiome was rebalancing. Without the constant salt push, beneficial bacteria like Bacillus and Pseudomonas species, the workhorses that mineralize organic matter into plant-available nutrients, started repopulating. UC Davis Department of Plant Sciences research on organic tomato systems has documented this rebound clearly. Microbial populations recover within 14 to 21 days of removing synthetic inputs, provided organic matter is present. Week 3. This was the hard week. The plants looked stalled. No new flowers for about 8 days. I stood in my garden Saturday morning with a bottle of fish emulsion in my hand. I almost did it. The thing that stopped me was a soil temperature reading. The bed was at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, what soil scientists call the activation zone for nitrogen mineralization. The biology was working. I just couldn't see it yet. Week 4. The shift. New flower trusses appeared on all 4 plants. The new leaves were a deep matte green, not the glossy, soft green of overfed foliage, but the leathery, sun-tolerant green of a plant that's pulling its own weight. I noticed something else: earthworm castings on the soil surface. I hadn't seen those in that bed in 2 years. Week 5. Fruit set exploded. Cherokee purples in particular, which had been stuck at 3 small fruit per plant, suddenly had clusters of 7 and 8 setting at once. This is what's known as the source-sink transition. The plant has stopped investing in vegetative growth and shifted resources to reproduction. Penn State Extension documents this transition specifically as a marker of a balanced root zone. Week 6. Harvest. The first Cherokee purple weighed in at just over 14 ounces. The better boys were producing fruit with measurably thicker walls and deeper color. I cut one open, and the gel was firm, the seed cavities were fully developed, and the flavor, this is the part one can't put a number on, was the kind of tomato flavor I remember from my grandfather's garden in 1986. If learning the actual biology behind these results is helping you, hit subscribe so we can keep digging into the real science together. Now, here's the 6-week reset protocol. Grab a pen. This is the part you'll want to screenshot. Step 1. Stop all synthetic and concentrated organic fertilizer. That means fish emulsion, kelp drench, the 10th of October 10, Miracle Grow, anything with a guaranteed analysis on the label. Stop it completely on day 1. Do not taper. Step 2. Top dress with 2 inches of finished compost around each plant. Not in contact with the stem. Keep a 2-inch ring of bare soil around the trunk to prevent stem rot. The compost is not fertilizer. It's microbial inoculant and slow-release organic matter. 1 bag of quality compost from a local supplier runs about $6. That's your entire input cost for the protocol. Step 3. Mulch on top of the compost with 3 inches of straw or shredded leaves. This regulates soil temperature, conserves moisture, and feeds the fungal layer over time. Step 4. Water deeply once a week, not lightly every day. Deep watering, meaning enough to wet the soil 8 to 10 inches down, forces roots to grow downward in search of moisture. Light daily watering keeps roots shallow and dependent. Step 5. Walk away. Do not foliar feed. Do not side dress. Do not just give them a little something because they look stressed in week 1. This is the most important step, and it's the hardest one. 3 mistakes that will sabotage this protocol. Mistake 1. Doing the reset on plants that are already setting fruit at full capacity. If your tomatoes are already producing well, leave them alone. The reset is for plants that are stalled, yellowing, or overfed. Step 5. Walk away. Do not foliar feed. Do not side dress. Do not just give them a little something because they look stressed in week 1. This is the most important step, and it's the hardest one. 3 mistakes that will sabotage this protocol. Mistake 1. Doing the reset on plants that are already setting fruit at full capacity. If your tomatoes are already producing well, leave them alone. The reset is for plants that are stalled, yellowing, or overfed. Run the protocol on next season's transplants from day 1 for the cleanest results. Mistake 2. Using bagged compost that's actually composted bark or wood mulch. Read the label. You want a product that says compost with a stated source: leaf, food, manure, or municipal, not a brown bag that says soil conditioner. Wood-based products will trigger nitrogen drawdown in the short term and undo your protocol. Mistake 3. Confusing this with abandonment. The reset is not ignore your tomatoes. You're still watering deeply, still scouting for pests, still pruning suckers, still tying up vines. You're removing one input, fertilizer, and adding two, compost and mulch. That's it. I want to be honest with you about the limits of this method. This works on tomatoes grown in raised beds or in-ground beds with at least 8 inches of soil depth and some existing organic matter. It does not work for tomatoes in pots smaller than 15 gallons because container soil simply doesn't have enough volume to support a working microbiome. For containers, you do need regular organic feeding. That's a different system. It also doesn't fix a soil that's badly out of balance. If your pH is below 5.5 or above 7.5, no amount of compost will rescue you until you correct the pH first. And if your bed is brand new fill soil with no organic matter history, the reset will take longer, closer to 10 weeks than 6, because you're building biology from scratch. And one safety note. If you mulch with straw, source it from a supplier who can confirm it's free of persistent herbicides like aminopyralid. Contaminated straw will kill your tomatoes faster than any fertilizer mistake. Ask your supplier directly. Picture this. 8 weeks from now, you're standing in your garden on a Saturday morning. You haven't bought fertilizer in 2 months. The bottle of fish emulsion in your shed is still half full. Your tomato plants are shorter than your neighbors, but they're loaded, clusters of fruit you can see from the kitchen window. You pick one warm off the vine and you bite into it, standing right there. And you remember what my neighbor said. You were treating the plant, now you're treating the soil. That's the whole difference. Your action step this week is very specific. This Saturday, walk out to your tomato bed with a notebook. Write down 3 things: the height of each plant, the color of the lower leaves on a 1 to 5 scale, where 1 is yellow and 5 is deep green, and the number of open flowers and set fruit. That's your baseline. If your lower leaves score below 3, or if you see vegetative dominance, watts of leaf, little fruit, start the reset this weekend. Pull the fertilizer off the schedule, top dress with compost, mulch, and walk away. Then come back in 6 weeks with the same notebook and run the same numbers. Drop a comment below with your baseline numbers: height, leaf color score, and flower count, and what variety you're growing. I read every single one, and the patterns I'm seeing in the comments from last season are shaping the next video on what to do when the reset doesn't work and the soil itself needs rebuilding. Now go check your tomatoes.